Joining me is Dr. Bob Weil, and he's back on the show for the Sports Doctor is In segment. And today's topic is on the challenge of drugs and youth sports. Welcome back, Dr. Bob.
Hi, Christine. It's always a pleasure to be with you with Run With It. And this is a topic that's really near and dear to me when we're dealing with all aspects of youth sports. The reality is that so many of these kids are living on over-the-counter anti-inflammatory medicines, whether it's just things like Motrin or Advil, ibuprofen, sometimes Aleve, sometimes aspirin, in order to continue to participate. And many times we'll see that leads to all sorts of problems regarding the injury getting worse, regarding the pressure to play. And this is one of the big points of the whole topic, where we see this parental or coach pressure to continue to play. You might lose your spot on the starting lineup. You might see that you've missed one of the tournament games. And this has led to all sorts of different problems. So this is why we tell parents all the time, if you're using medicine to stay in the game, you're over the line. You got to identify what the problem or injury is. You have to initiate some treatment. Again, in sports podiatry, we might be dealing with a foot ankle, a lower leg, shin splints, knee trouble, these kinds of things. And it's not necessarily only for kids. You know, when we're talking with your audience and we're talking with adult runners and we're talking, Christine, with you, a serious competitor, someone who runs 50 miles a week, a lot of times we run into the same challenges. Dr. Weil, if I don't take 2 Advil 2-3 times a day, my Achilles tendons hurt or my plantar fasciitis hurts. So it's a good rule to follow, which is you need to back off, identify the problem, and then deal with it. And intelligent rest, another one of my famous 2-worders, is one of the most important things. And you know the story. If you're competing, you're getting ready for one of your marathons or your races, and we start seeing trouble, and we start looking at over-the-counter medicines, and many times they're so prevalent, they're so advertised, then we start running into problems where something minor, which might calm down with a little bit of rest, a little bit of supervision, becomes something that really becomes a much more concerning problem, where someone might have to miss weeks and months of their activities because they didn't pay attention.
It's about raising awareness, and education is important for coaches, parents, and for, runners like myself, is that it's okay to take a time off for some minor pain, but if something else is going on, you're running through the pain because you want to compete, or you feel that pressure, then it's about raising awareness, right, Dr. Bob?
Absolutely. And again, it's something where there's nothing wrong. And many times we're supervising somebody. We use a lot of over-the-counter anti-inflammatories. The nightmare with painkillers, that is an international scourge. It's a real, also United States scourge with the opioids and the painkillers, with the addictions and all of these concerns and the overdoses. It's a nightmare. It actually also involved the changing of the term performance-enhancing drugs on the Sports Doctor to what I call performance-surviving drugs. This is where so many of the painkillers become involved, or the anti-inflammatories, in order to be able to stay active. So again, like you hit the nail on the head, awareness, education is a very, very big deal. And again, when you're the parent of a young boy or girl, they're playing in whatever their particular sport is, Dr. Weil, if my daughter doesn't take 2 Advil twice a day, she can't continue playing soccer 4 or 5 days a week. Her heels are hurting her, or her ankles are hurting her. So many times we then will get into this particular topic involving identify the problem, consider some intelligent rest, back off. At the very least, don't push through, because when these situations become persistent or chronic, we start running into some real problems where somebody just can't get back on the road and run their 5, 7, 8 miles a day. unless they're taking some sort of anti-inflammatory medicine, and it's just not good, not good.
No, and you know, your article in MVP Parent is you know, it's a great read. So if people want to, you know, check out your article, where can they go?
Yes, mvpparent.com. This is a very exciting quarterly magazine, Christine. I have a column in it that's named along with our column with you. The Sports Doctor is in. And the publisher, Rich Dubin, who has been involved in biomechanics and sports publishing for decades, they just celebrated their 12th anniversary with their lower extremity review magazine, and he's a sports dad. And he got very, very involved. And MVP Parent Magazine deals with evidence-based information, just like lower extremity review. Evidence-based information on physical training, mental training, nutrition, medications, injuries, because again, this is a very, very hot topic. And again, the only concern I have with my co-authored book, hashtag Hey Sports Parents, is how many sports grandparents have been talking to me that we have to add it to the title of the sequel, because there's so many grandparents who are, you know, grandparents are younger and younger all the time. It's pretty amazing. And everybody's very, very invested. You know, youth sports, Christine, is a $20 billion a year business in the United States. A lot of it is overkill. Again, like you said, the magic words: awareness, education. You know, the epidemic of overuse injuries, both physically and mentally, in youth sports. A lot of it is, again, this pressure to play. And again, we see these kinds of concerns. We see the tremendous attention to mental health. Look at the past Summer Olympics with Simone Biles, where she admitted, the best gymnast in the world in history, said, you know, world, I'm not competing. I'm not ready. I'm having some mental concerns. And these kinds of considerations. The Winter Olympics, we were dealing with the young Russian with the performance-enhancing drugs. So awareness, education, paying attention. Again, if you're dealing with injuries that are either recurrent or persistent, number one, pay attention to the relationship of foot mechanics. Half the young girls we see in sports podiatry are knee problems. So you want to talk to your doctor. You want to talk to your physical therapist, your personal trainer, to be able to identify, what am I dealing with here? What's my son or daughter dealing with? What can we do to prevent its recurrence? And then get into this whole situation. We don't want to rely on over-the-counter medicines to stay in the game. Not smart.
Yes. And doctor, to listen to your show, where can people go?
You know, my website is the best information portal, sportsdoctorradio.com. If you go over to radio shows, you can go back years. You could probably hear a half a dozen times where you guessed it with me on the Sports Doctor. We have international guests, national guests, local guests. So sportsdoctorradio.com. They go over to newspaper articles and magazines. They can read all about what we're doing in MVP Parent Magazine. We have thousands of followers on LinkedIn and Twitter. We have a lot of education on those platforms, Christine. So if people go to Sports Doc, DOC Radio, they could tune in with us on Twitter. I can't tell you how many guests I get from Twitter and or LinkedIn. That might have been the connection with you and I.
Yes,
a few years ago, I think it was. So again, the website, sportsdoctorradio.com, they can find out all sorts of information. And again, I enjoy my time with you and your Run With It publication, which has got so much great information for everybody in your sport, as well as other sports. And I look forward to each of our monthly visits, Christine.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bob, and we'll have you back next month.
Thanks, everybody.